This World Cup was supposed to belong to the giants: Germany, Netherlands, Brazil, Argentina, England, the usual countries with the big stars, the big history, the big expectations, and the fan bases that act like losing a throw-in is a national emergency. But something weird is happening. The teams that were supposed to just be happy to be here are not acting happy. They are not waving at the camera. They are not collecting shirts. They are not treating the World Cup like a school trip with shin pads. They are dragging giants into deep water, and suddenly the tournament does not feel like a football hierarchy anymore. It feels like a crime scene. Germany are gone. The Netherlands are gone. Brazil survived, but barely. England are being told DR Congo should be easy, which is usually exactly when England start making life difficult for themselves. And Cape Verde are sitting there, waiting for Argentina with nothing to lose, except the entire internet's prediction slips. So maybe this World Cup is not just producing underdog stories. Maybe the underdogs are breaking the tournament, because this is not normal. Underdogs usually give us one magical night, one brave performance, one emotional speech from a coach who looks like he has not slept since qualification. Then the big teams wake up, score twice, and everyone politely claps them out. But this time, the underdogs are not just making people nervous, they are changing brackets. They are sending former champions home. They are turning safe matches into court cases. And they are forcing everyone to ask the most dangerous World Cup question. What if the gap was never as big as we thought? The biggest example is Paraguay. Because when Germany played Paraguay, most people knew the script before kickoff. Germany would suffer a bit. Germany would pass the ball for half an hour. Germany would look confused for 20 minutes. Then Germany would eventually find a goal. Everyone would say, tournament football. And Paraguay would be praised for effort like a team getting a participation trophy at a barbecue. Except Paraguay did not follow the script. They looked at Germany's World Cup history and said, that's cute. And then they dragged them into penalties. That is where this story gets nasty. Because Germany did not just lose a football match. Germany lost the kind of match Germany are supposed to survive. A 1-1 draw. Extra time. Pressure rising. 1 moment away from escaping, and then penalties. That used to be Germany's comfort zone. Other teams arrive at a penalty shootout, looking like they just opened a tax bill. Germany usually arrive like they have been practicing this since birth. But this time, Paraguay won. And the craziest part is that Paraguay did not need to dominate Germany to humiliate them. That is what makes the upset so uncomfortable. If a favorite gets destroyed, people can explain it away. Bad day, wrong tactics, injury crisis, Mercury in retrograde. But when a giant has the ball, has the shots, has the territory, and still cannot kill the underdog, that is a different kind of failure. That is not getting punched in the face. That is throwing punches for 2 hours and realizing the other guy is smiling. Paraguay defended like they had locked the door and swallowed the key. Germany kept knocking. Paraguay kept surviving, and then came the moment that turns this from a football result into a courtroom case. Germany thought they had scored in extra time. Jonathan Tah headed the ball in. For a few seconds, Germany had their escape route. The headline was ready. The crisis was delayed. The big team had found the big team way out. But then, VAR stepped in. The goal was ruled out because of alleged obstruction on Paraguay's goalkeeper. And this is where the entire debate splits. If you support Germany, you look at that decision and say, that is soft. That is not enough to erase a World Cup winning moment. That is VAR staring at football until football stops making sense. But if you support Paraguay, you say, the goalkeeper was blocked. The movement was affected. A foul in the 6-yard box is still a foul. Even if the badge on the shirt says Germany. And that is why this moment is perfect. Because both sides can sound convinced. Germany fans see a stolen winner. Paraguay fans see justice finally being applied to a giant. Neutral fans see the kind of decision that makes everyone pause the replay like they are forensic scientists investigating a corner kick. And the what if is massive. If that goal stands, Paraguay's miracle probably dies right there. Germany survive. The penalty shootout never happens. The first ever German World Cup penalty shootout defeat never becomes a headline. Paraguay do not become legends. Their president probably does not declare a national holiday. And Germany's disaster gets delayed for another round. That is how thin this upset was. Not a mile. Not a clear tactical destruction. A few bodies in the goalkeeper's path. One whistle, one screen, one decision, and an entire World Cup changes. That is what the underdogs are doing. They are not always outplaying giants. Sometimes they are dragging them into moments where one tiny detail can ruin everything. That is more dangerous because a favorite can prepare for talent. A favorite can prepare for speed. A favorite can prepare for pressing. But how do you prepare for chaos? How do you prepare for a team that refuses to die, waits for one mistake, then turns penalties into a national holiday? You can't. You just stand there. With 70% possession and a suitcase full of regrets, Germany are not the only giant that found out. The Netherlands had their own warning. Against Morocco, they were not destroyed either. That is the scary thing. They were ahead. They were close. They had the match in their hands. And then Morocco did what dangerous underdogs do. They stayed alive long enough for the favorite to start feeling the clock. That is one of the most underrated weapons in knockout football. The longer an underdog survives, the heavier the favorite's shirt gets. At minute 10, the giant is patient. At minute 50, the giant is focused. At minute 88, the giant is suddenly thinking, wait, are we actually about to do this? That is when the legs get tighter. The passes get safer. The fans get louder. The coach starts making substitutions that look tactical, but feel like panic with a clipboard. Morocco equalized late. Then they took the Netherlands to penalties. And once again, the underdog created the kind of environment where history stops mattering. Nobody cares about your football school when the ball is on the spot. Nobody cares about your possession structure when the keeper guesses right. Nobody cares how clean your buildup was when your best taker looks like he would rather be anywhere else on earth. Penalty shootouts are football's lie detector. You can have all the tactics in the world, but eventually one player has to walk from the halfway line and convince himself his legs still belong to him. Morocco survived that test. The Netherlands did not, and now the Dutch are out, while Morocco move on. Again, ask the what if. What if one Dutch penalty goes in? What if one Moroccan miss becomes the ending? What if the stoppage time header never happens? Then the story is completely different. The Netherlands survive a scare. Morocco get called brave. Everyone says they can be proud. That phrase is dangerous, by the way. They can be proud is football code for you lost, but we're trying to be polite. Morocco did not want polite. Morocco wanted the next round, and that is exactly what they took. Then there's DR Congo. This one might be the most emotional story of the tournament because DR Congo are not just an underdog. Because they have a smaller name, they are an underdogs because history has been sitting on their chest for 52 years. The last time they were at a World Cup, the story was pain, old clips, old jokes, old humiliation. A team remembered more for disaster than football. So when they came back, people did not really know what to do with them. They were placed in a group with Portugal and Colombia. That is not a welcome package. That is FIFA handing you a suitcase. I wouldn't saying, good luck. Try not to get emotionally damaged. But DR Congo did something important. They did not play like tourists. Against Portugal, they took a point. Against Colombia, they lost narrowly. Against Uzbekistan, they won 3-1. And suddenly, they were not just a nice comeback story. They were in the knockouts. That matters. Because there is a big difference between happy to be here and you now have to game plan for us. DR Congo crossed that line. And now they face England, which is exactly the kind of matchup where people start saying stupid things. England should win easily. This is a good draw. They'll be fine. Have we learned nothing? Every time people call a knockout game easy, football hears it and starts charging interest. This is not a friendly. This is not a warm-up. This is one match. And DR Congo have the most dangerous kind of freedom. They have already made history. England have expectations. DR Congo have a momentum. England have pressure. DR Congo have a nation watching. Like, this is more than sport. England are supposed to win. Dr. Congo are allowed to ruin the party. And that is the whole trap. Because if England win, people shrug. If England lose, the entire country turns into a group chat with bad Wi-Fi and worse opinions. That is why underdogs are dangerous. In the knockouts, they do not just attack your goal. They attack your emotional stability. They make the favorite play against two opponents, the team in front of them and the nightmare of becoming the headline. Now look at Cape Verde. Cape Verde are not supposed to be here either. This is their first World Cup, a tiny island nation, stepping onto the biggest football stage on earth. And now their prize is Argentina. That is not a reward. That is a boss level. Imagine qualifying for your first World Cup, surviving long enough to reach the knockouts. And then the game says, congratulations, here is Messi. Most teams would already be halfway beaten by the story, because the football world will not frame it as Cape Verde versus Argentina. It will frame it as, can Messi continue? Can Argentina avoid embarrassment? Can the champions move one step closer? Cape Verde become the background, the side character, the team in the trailer. That gets shown for 3 seconds before the superstar walks in. But that is exactly why this is dangerous, because Cape Verde do not need to be better than Argentina. For 10 matches, they need one night, one strange bounce, one defensive mistake, one set piece, one moment where Argentina start thinking the match is already won because the world has been talking like it is. And this is where the what if gets huge. What if Cape Verde score first? What if Argentina have to chase? What if Messi is surrounded, frustrated, and the clock starts moving faster than Argentina want it to? What if the smallest story in the bracket becomes the loudest one? That is how World Cups become a mythology. Not because the favorite always wins, but because every few years, a team walks into a match they are supposed to lose and decides the script needs editing. Even Japan, who did not survive against Brazil, still belong in this conversation. Because sometimes an underdog breaks the World Cup without winning. Japan lost 2-1 to Brazil on paper. That is simple. Brazil advance. Japan go home. Normal. But the match did not feel normal. Brazil did not look untouchable. Japan made them work. Japan made them uncomfortable, and that matters because World Cups are not just about who goes through. They are about what each match reveals. If Brazil beat a team 5-0, everyone relaxes. If Brazil have to survive 2-1, suddenly every future opponent watches the tape differently. They stop saying, how do we stop Brazil? And start saying, wait, can we hurt them? That is a massive difference. Underdogs do not always need to knock the giant out. Sometimes they just need to pull the curtain back and show everyone the giant is bleeding. Japan may be gone, but they left Brazil with questions. And in a knockout tournament, questions are dangerous because the next team does not need to solve all of them, just one. That is the bigger story of this World Cup. The underdogs are not winning because football has become random. They are winning because they understand the modern tournament better than some giants do. They know they will not have the ball forever. They know they might suffer. They know the possession graphic will look ugly. But possession without danger is just expensive cardio. Some favorites pass the ball, like they're trying to unlock a secret achievement. Back pass, side pass, safe pass, another safe pass. Congratulations. You completed 700 passes and scared absolutely nobody. The underdogs do not care. They sit, they suffer. They wait. They turn one corner, one counterattack, one goalkeeper save, one penalty shootout into the entire match. And fans call that lucky. Sometimes it is. But luck has a funny habit of visiting teams that stay alive long enough to invite it in. That is what Germany learned. That is what the Netherlands learned. That is what Brazil nearly learned. And that is what England and Argentina have to be careful about next, because the real danger of an underdog is not that they are secretly better than you. It is that they only need you to be careless once. One bad clearance, one lazy foul, one defender switching off, one goalkeeper taking half a step the wrong way. One VAR review that makes everyone suddenly forget what a foul is, and your whole tournament can disappear. That is why this World Cup feels different. The expanded format gave more countries a place at the table. A lot of people mocked that. They said it would water down the tournament. They said there would be too many mismatches. They said the big teams would feast. But what if the opposite happened? What if more teams did not make the World Cup weaker? What if they made it more dangerous? Because now there are more styles, more emotional stories, more teams with nothing to lose, more nations treating every match like the biggest night in their history. And that is a nightmare for favorites. Favorites like control. Underdogs bring chaos. Favorites like rhythm. Underdogs break rhythm. Favorites like being respected. Underdogs do not have time for your museum tour. They are not here to admire your trophies. They are here to steal your summer. And honestly, this is what makes the World Cup feel alive. Not perfect, not fair, not always logical, alive. Because every time a giant falls, the tournament changes shape. Paraguay did not just beat Germany, they made every favorite look over their shoulder. Morocco did not just beat the Netherlands. They reminded everyone that penalty shootouts do not care about reputation. DR Congo did not just reach the knockouts. They turned a 52-year wound into a threat. Cape Verde are not just waiting for Argentina. They are standing in front of the biggest possible what if. And Japan, even in defeat, may have left a message for Brazil's next opponent. That message is simple. They can be touched, so no. This World Cup is not just about the giants anymore. It is about the teams standing under them with a hammer. And maybe that is why these stories feel so good, because football spends so much time telling us who matters before the ball is even kicked. The bigger country matters. The bigger league matters. The bigger badge matters. The bigger name matters. Then the match starts. And suddenly a goalkeeper from Paraguay can ruin Germany. A late Moroccan header can crack the Netherlands. A DR Congo team carrying 52 years of history can walk into an England match with nothing to lose. And Cape Verde can look at Argentina and say, why not us? That is the part fans love. Not just the upset, the possibility. The idea that no matter how much football tries to organize itself into power rankings, market value, history, and reputation, there is still a version of the game where one night can burn the whole chart. That is what the underdogs are doing. They are not just surviving, they are forcing the World Cup to explain itself. Were Germany unlucky, or did Paraguay expose something rotten? Did the Netherlands choke, or did Morocco drag them into a fight they were not ready for? Are DR Congo just a nice story, or are England walking into a trap? Is Cape Verde just Messi's next opponent, or the most dangerous kind of underdog? And did the expanded World Cup make the tournament worse, or did it give us the chaos everyone secretly wanted? Because after everything we have seen, one thing is obvious. The giants are still dangerous, but they are not safe. And in this World Cup, that might be the biggest story of all. So, be honest in the comments. Which underdog is actually the most dangerous? Paraguay, Morocco, DR Congo, Cape Verde, or did Japan already show the rest of the tournament how to scare a giant? And more importantly, are the favorites collapsing, or are the underdogs finally getting the respect they should have had from the start? Because right now, this does not feel like a normal World Cup anymore. It feels like the underdogs are breaking it, and only time will show who gets broken next. So, what do you think? If you enjoyed the video, hit like. If you didn't, hit dislike. Either way, let me know what you think in the comments, and subscribe if you don't want to miss the next story. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.